Hey everyone, welcome to Turbo Time. Once again, this is live. Instead of Nintendo Switch, which I've been playing with recently, I purchased myself one of these arcade one-up machines. And these machines are really good. I've switched some things out already, customized the buttons, customized the bats and the control sticks. Added some buttons, should be LED, but I haven't got them lit up yet. And of course some coin buttons down here. And one of the nice things I've done is also retain the original on-off for the Raspberry Pi, which I have hooked up to an arcade one-up image, which is working really well, and the volume as well for controlling the volume there. But recently I've got fed up with playing just some of the basic games, from MAME and Super Nintendo, and I thought I'd try something a little bit more intense. Now, as you can see, this is running really, really, really well. No problems here. And it is an original game. It's a PlayStation 2 copy of San Andreas. And the way I've done this is I've taken my PlayStation 3 from its slot on my retro cabinet here. And I've wired this in via a HDMI switcher, which I'm about to rotate this device around. I haven't got a riser. I've put it on a table that has some casters on the bottom. So it's possible for me to basically shift this around like that. I have a remote control here for the sound system that I've put in there. It's just a tower sound system, as you can see. And I've got the standard modifications which a lot of people have, which is a HDMI board in the back there. I've also got the bottom a HDMI switcher, which I got from Amazon, and that's what I'm using to switch between the standard Raspberry Pi, which is wired in just there, and the PlayStation 3, which is wired in just here, as you can see. Now, the PlayStation 3 has been modified as well, so I can play lots of different things on that. But one of the things that was puzzling me is will these USB encoders, which you can see up there, so will those USB encoders actually work with anything other than a Raspberry Pi? Will they support PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Switch? So I've tried everything now, and the only console it works with is a PlayStation 3. So that means that you can't use these directly on a Switch. I just had that on and it didn't work at all, so I had to use a wireless controller to play that. But yeah, I tried Xbox 360. I haven't actually tried Xbox One, but I imagine it wouldn't work there either. But it does work absolutely fine, as you can see, on a PlayStation 3. So other things I've modded here is just a USB hub, which allows me to put a lot of USB devices into the Raspberry Pi. But I'm going to show you what happens when I turn off the PlayStation now. So just one last time, I'll quickly show you the movement. So it's obviously working full screen on 4:3. That wasn't my choice to look at that, but there you go. So as you can see, it's working reasonably well. Can draw my gun, get arrested, no doubt. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult with only that setup. Let's see if I can take out one of these cops. Apologies to any law enforcement officers. But there you go. So that works really well. So now I'm just going to come around the back and turn this off. So I'm holding down the power button on the PlayStation, and off it goes there. So once that's turned off, the HDMI switcher, which is at the bottom there, that automatically switches from the light it's on, which is the pink-headed HDMI cable. That should switch over to the other one, which is a Raspberry Pi. So obviously, it's just shutting down now. You can see that there. So once it's shut down, it'll automatically switch over to the Raspberry Pi. So now this is running from a Raspberry Pi. So just to show you how well this is all working, I'm going to use the on-off switch. And that's wired into some of the GPIO pins in order to enable the shutdown. And I'm going to turn it back on now. So now I've hit the on button. Hopefully it's shut down completely. I don't think it had. You should wait just a second for it to shut down and then give it the on. So as you can see, it comes back on. But yeah, if you don't wait for it to shut down all the way and you kind of switch it on, it doesn't get the signal. It's got to be completely powered off before you can power it back on. But there we go, comes up with the arcade 1-up. I'm using I think it's a 256 gigabyte card, micro SD card, so I've got plenty of room on there. But obviously, it's only powerful enough to play some of the lower end things. It can't really even play PSP stuff at the moment. And this is a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus that's in there, just like everybody else's that you can search for on YouTube and kind of look to get one of these units. So I paid $350 for the unit itself. I then had to pay around, I'd say 60, 70, 80 pounds trying various modifications for a table. And this is just a standard table I purchased from a local retailer in this black ash wood. But I've had several tables that didn't quite work. It needed to be braced with these braces here, or these are just shelving hooks or supports that you put underneath the shelf. So they now allow it to completely rotate on these legs. So we can get to the back of it. I purchased this sound unit. It kind of just fit in there, and it was a remote control as well, which was kind of nice. That is kind of a manual process of turning the sound on when it goes off. But one of the nice things that I did, if we set a baseline of, say, 10, and that's 10 is going to be the maximum volume. And now we start a game. So I'm going to start something along the lines of, in fact, there you go. You can see that didn't work because I had the USB plugged in here. So if I take this and I'll plug that in the Raspberry Pi, which is up here, make sure it goes in the right way. Now ideally you'd put one of these on a switch. Just making sure that is in properly. It's very difficult to do this and film, but there you go. So now that's in. Come around the front. Now I'd normally leave that in, but obviously I want a switch or something like that, so I'm able to just do everything off a single click. So let's have a look at some of the arcade classics. So we'll go down to the Loop Master. One of the things that a lot of people have trouble with is when they convert these units over, they don't have these buttons, so they usually have a switch elsewhere, but I've got these buttons enabled. So at the moment you can see the volume as it stands right now is in the middle, and I'll just insert a coin, and now I'll put the volume up and the volume down to 0. So as you can see, this is wired up to the GPIO pins as well to give me some decent functionality. So everything works off the top. Just switched out these buttons for something else. I've got one of these deck protectors on, which I got sent from the manufacturer because it didn't come with it. It's quite easy to play these, reset them. You just hit the coin button at the same time as hitting the start button just here. And when you do that, it resets back to the main menu there. So it's really good. I've got a lot of different systems on here, a lot of different games, Dreamcast as well. And of course, some of my favourite games from the PlayStation era on here as well. I put these in this order, by the way, just because it replicated the Super Nintendo games. So obviously A, B, X and Y, and L and R over this way. The original functionality, just for curiosity, I really wanted to keep. Obviously, it is a super kind of cabinet, a Street Fighter 2 cabinet, and I really wanted to keep the same functionality because obviously the theme's there. So one of the collections that I've got on here, as I scroll through them all, is a Street Fighter collection. So when you go into that, you've got all the Street Fighters in there and more than what come on here, including some of the Street Fighter 3 and the Street Fighter Alphas, but I think one of the best ones is this one here. So as the buttons are currently mapped, yes, everything is exactly as it says on on the kind of deck. You've got your kicks at the bottom here, all correct, and your punches up here, all correct as well. Of course, the nice thing about this game is it has all the characters in. It's the 15th anniversary ROM. And as usual, you press coin and it puts a coin in. You press and hold start. It brings up the test menu, which we can use there. Hopefully we get out by that and that, I think. What does it say there? Run or one player push. So obviously we want to exit. It might be that one. This is what happens when you're not paying attention. Okay. So back up we go. I'll just start this one up. So this has been a project I've been undertaking for a while. I've not been too well, so I've had to put it on hold, but to keep myself busy and my mind occupied, I've just been creating this. So let's put some coins in. There we go, and some coins in for player 2. And then we can hit the one player start button. Have it nice and slow. You choose your character type. So if I bring a player 2 in while I'm here, I'll start, say, with the Turbo. We'll choose Ryu from Turbo. As you can see, he looks a bit edgy. And then on this one, we'll go to normal. And we'll also choose Ryu. And as you can see, there's a different character which you'll be presented with. So let's do that. So this is perhaps one of my favourite Street Fighter 2 games because you can select different characters. As you can see, I'll just bring them together. So you've got the 2 different sprites, I think, from each one. See if I can do a one-handed shuriken. It's quite difficult, but I'll give it a go. There we go. Should be able to do the kick as well. No problem. And again, to exit game or even to go to the retro arch menu, you hit this as well as the strong punch button in the middle. So I'm just going to do that with the phone. And there we are, we're at the quick menu. So obviously you can save state and things like that, which is kind of nice to do. And again, I'm going to go back to the game selection screen now. So that's about it. It's taken a while to get this done. All different themes. I'll just turn this off now. There you can see it's shutting down. So the only one manual thing about this method, because I removed the speaker from the cabinet, is that I just have to press the on button here. And that on button, because the IR sensor's pointing upwards, is good enough to turn this huge speaker system on and off. As you can see, I'll press it now, off it goes. And then we go down and we'll hit it again. And on it comes. So all that's pretty much done now. I'm quite happy with the situation it's in. I would like a USB encoder for the Switch, because ideally I've got a spare Switch hanging around over here. And I'd like to use this Switch, obviously with the games that I have with it, to basically just play on there. The problem is though that it's widescreen, and this is a 4x3 monitor. But I do like the form factor. I do like the fact it's a bit smaller and diddier. It sits quite well in my living room. It could do with a little bit of tidying up and polishing off. Here, interestingly enough, is a spare deck protector that I had. This was the first one that they sent through, and as you can see, the problem is there's a crack, and there was a piece missing out of here which I had to glue back in. But all in all, I mean, if you haven't got a deck protector, yes, you should contact the manufacturer and maybe they'll sort one out for you. But these, for some reason, do tend to go for quite a lot on eBay, but I'm going to keep it here anyway because it's just about usable. There we go. Okay, so thanks for watching. This was the arcade one-up running San Andreas on a PS3 via PS2 emulation. That's going to open the door now for me to, with this modified PlayStation, I should be able to run quite a lot of kind of fighters on there. I'm not going to bother using RetroArch unless, you know, it's something that really would push the Raspberry Pi 3. We're still waiting for RetroPie to come out for the Raspberry Pi 4. And when it does, I can't wait to kind of get this bad boy in. So this is a Raspberry Pi 4, which is a little bit more powerful. There are some beta versions of RetroPie available so far, but the problem we're having is the video drivers aren't hardware accelerated, and therefore it's not really much more powerful than a Raspberry Pi 3, but it has some kind of software emulation issues because it's not matured yet. So hopefully soon that'll be ready to go in the cabinet, and I'll be able to emulate MAME games and PSP games just a little bit better. All right, there, this is Gavin Horrocks, Turboman UK, signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll try to get some more videos up on Nintendo Switch related stuff soon.